Hello, everyone, and welcome to FHP, more formally known as the Football Home Podcast, where it's a group of friends from all around the world talking about a sport we all love, which is football. So, welcome to. Hopefully, we haven't had viewers yet, but we appreciated last week's comments. Yeah, we're going to be doing a review for the game week 15 for the English Premier League. And the first game we're going to be talking about is the Leeds versus Bournemouth game. It was a game full of goals, few penalties given away, but at the end of the day, Leeds were able to run away with the win, especially after the previous week beating Liverpool at home for the first time in a long while. Andreas, what do you think gave Leeds the lead in this case?
Good question. This is just a crazy game. Like 7 goals,
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think Bournemouth is starting to like this. It started really good after they got a new manager, and now I think it's going a bit down. This is the first time in this season that they have lost 2 matches in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So not the best for Bournemouth at the moment. And I think, like I've said this before, Leeds is just the most inconsistent team in Premier League right now. Like at their absolute best, they can even fight against teams like City. At their worst, they can lose against the worst teams in Championship. Like honestly, they are really inconsistent, and that's what we see here. Like at their best, they can do really good and score 4 goals. I think a really interesting fact with this is also that Leeds scored a penalty after 3 minutes. So that's clearly something that's a big advantage for them. When you first get a goal, you start getting momentum. The other team becomes a little worried about you. So that's clearly a momentum changer for the match. But yeah, Leeds just really inconsistent and at their best really good. And that's what we see. And I think also Leeds player for player should be better than Bournemouth. Like Bournemouth has been doing really good, but Leeds is player for player better. And that's what we see here, but also still a really good performance from Bournemouth. The Danish Viking Billing with a goal. So yeah, really good for both teams. Leeds was just slightly better with much more possession and yeah, but Bournemouth had more shots on target. So yeah, very equal, but Leeds was at the end of the day the best team.
Obviously, in the game, Leeds had more possession, but it seemed like Bournemouth was more better at the attack. But then at the end of the game, Leeds was able to run away with the win. Abdus, what do you think went wrong for Bournemouth in this game?
Just a bad day at the office. Some days it does not work out because Leeds, like Andrea said, it is. This is one of the most inconsistent teams in the Premier League right now. On their best days, they defeat Liverpool at Anfield when VVD is in the back. So on the best days they are so good, and on the worst days they're losing to Nottingham sometimes, and so it's very weird. After the 9-0 thrashing, I thought Bournemouth were back, and they're probably going to gain some momentum, but somebody had to stop them. And sadly, it was Leeds. Now, Andreas did give us a stat about how Bournemouth have not lost 2 games in a row, which was slightly incorrect, I think. Bournemouth have not lost a game, two games in a row when they were leading by 2 goals. Okay, so for this to happen for the first time, it was a little bad on Bournemouth's part. But honestly, I think Leeds. I don't know what to expect from them this season because they've been so inconsistent. But the interesting fact in this game week was that every single match that was played on the first day had a penalty given. There was a penalty that was given in that game within the first half. So every game saw a penalty at least. So I thought Bournemouth, when they had the two goal lead, they would go on and win the game, but they bottled it, as an Englishman would say. So, so hopefully hopefully Leeds can come around. Maybe some of the players can give us some good fantasy points. And yeah, here's to hoping that Leeds and Bournemouth both survive so that we can see teams that have been sitting in the Premier League for too long and have just been enjoying the liberty without having the quality relegate. So I'd love for Everton or Crystal Palace or Wolves to be relegated instead of these teams that have just found their way up and are trying to survive.
Quickly, Abu is right that it's losing back to back after having led by 2 goals. So yeah, I was wrong by that. But yeah, still a crazy stat. And Abu deserves this. Like it's so rarely that he is right about something. So
and not to mention, this is the second game Leeds have won after the king was appointed in England. So I don't know. It's a crazy stat that Andreas seems to be so fixated upon. He's like obsessed by this fact, and honestly, it has no meaning. But Andreas is Andreas, as we know. So
it's a really good stat. It is.
Yeah, I guess with that we can jump on to the next game, which is the Wolves versus Brighton game. Obviously, Brighton has been in good form. I think the huge thing to talk about in this game would be obviously Wolves' attack. Ruben Neves was able to score a penalty, and then we saw someone score like the first goal in like 11 appearances in Gonzalo. So maybe they're being able to fix the attack, but unfortunately they conceded more goals than they scored, which unfortunately led Wolves to not win the game. Abdus, what do you think were thinking Wolves did wrong in this game to not be able to go home with the win?
Wolves did everything wrong. Honestly, one of them was a penalty. Could have been happened to anybody. And the second goal was by Gonzalez, which is, he's not that consistent. So when I saw the final, I didn't watch the games hardly. I watched Brighton games, but I didn't watch this one. I was playing football myself. So, but when I saw 2 goals on Wolves' end, I was like, okay, that's a little suspicious because you never see that. That's not a very common occurrence. You don't see Wolves scoring 2 goals, and especially if your opponent is Brighton, and that's even more suspicious. So I was surprised to see 2 goals, but honestly, I think Wolves need to really sort their defense out, and more importantly, they need to solve their attacks out. Now, defense wins you, like Alex Ferguson says, like defense wins you titles, goals win you cups. Defense is given a little more priority in leagues, but goals are important too because those 3 points are only ensured if you can score a goal. So I think what Wolves is doing wrong is clearly relying on attackers, especially the number 9s that are dead and have no game left in them, like Diego Costa with a red card has anger issues. Jimenez is not performing like he used to a few years before. So I think what needs to change with Wolves is their attack. Now coming on to Brighton, what can we say? They're just one team that you can't take your eyes off of. Porter did something right this season, and none of that was at Chelsea. It was at Brighton, and the results are pretty evident, no?
I don't know if they are. Like Chelsea has lost 2 games under Potter, so it's not going that bad. But with Brighton, like it's really starting to get better now. The formation, I've said it so many times now. 4-2-3-1. The formation that is just working for the manager. And again, it's a formation that he's really used to use in his past, and that's really what have helped them. Possession-wise, they have 71% Brighton. That's pretty crazy. And Brighton has the whole season been really, really good on possession. They've just not scored the goals with this new manager yet because he tried to do the stuff Potter did instead of finding his own identity. But now with his new formation and identity, it's really going good, and they are starting to score the goals that's needed. And like a match where not even Trossard makes an assist, but not even a goal, and they still score 3 goals.
Yeah,
that shows a lot because Trossard is their great offensive player. So yeah, really good for Brighton. And with Wolves, like it's starting to get good for Neves. He's starting to score goals. But it's just not enough. And as Abu said, defensive, it's not going good. And offensive, they still have a lot of problems, Wolf. Like again, one of the goals is penalty. Like, of course, penalties matter, but it's still a problem that they have so many problems in offensive. So Wolves is just a team that's not really working that well, and I think they really need something strong in the transfer window.
So, I mean, I agree with what Andreas just said, with Trossard being an important key to Brighton's attacks. But I don't think it's just Trossard that does the work for Brighton. It's all the players combined together, and that's the best part about Brighton. They don't play like they rely on one person. They play like everybody's going to play their last game. They put their energy in, they put the work in, the players are ready to run up and down. And it's like if Trossard was injured tomorrow and somebody else had to replace him, like March probably, or probably Gross, McAllister, or anybody for that matter, they would still be able to survive. They would still be able to survive. That's the best part about Brighton. And what we need to discuss about Wolves right now is Julen Lopetegui. Now, of course, he managed Real for a very short period, and it was the worst period of any manager, and I wouldn't wish that on any manager. But I do have a soft spot for him because he picked up Real when we were actually so fatigued. So I have a soft spot for him, and I think I really hope he does well at Wolves, and I think he will be able to do it because the sort of football Wolves play really suits Julian Lopetegui's style because this the slow game, slow build up, possession based football, finding spaces, finding half spaces, making the most of these half spaces, trying to score goals. That's what Julian Lopetegui is all about. So
Yeah.
I think Wolves may be looking at a good turnaround, provided they survive the relegation. If they can survive the relegation, make the preferred signings, then I think Wolves are headed, they're headed the right way, as Andreas would say.
Yeah, I guess with that we can jump on to the next game, which was the City versus Fulham game hosted at the Etihad Stadium. Talking about stats, obviously Man City will dominate possession, and they had twice the amount of shots on target as the opposition. Now, watching this game, I did feel like Fulham, didn't let City play through them. Like they tried to at least get 1 point throughout the game, but unfortunately, I mean, Julian Alvarez scored a beautiful goal starting goal in the match in the first half, and then obviously Fulham equalized in the first half as well. And unfortunately, in second half, City were able to run away with the penalty. I believe it was scored by Erling Haaland, who had later appearance in the last half of the game. Andreas, what do you think went right for City?
That they are City, like that's them being City is
lost it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they just have this mentality that's insane, and they know what they're doing. But I think when it comes to defense, they have some problems. Like Fulham is a strong team. They have some really good offensive players, Andreas Pereira, Mitrovic. But it's still City, and City should be better in defense. But they have some problems, and like red cards can clearly always happen, but it is a problem that Cancelo gets that red card, and like so early in the match, and that just shows that there are some defensive problems that City don't really have control over, and luckily for them, they are City. They are so good offensive. They have Haaland, so luckily for them, they have him, and were able to get it the other way around. But for most of the match, it looked really bad after that red card. So yeah, defensive they really have some problems, but again they're still City, and against a team like Fulham, they are able to win even just with 10 men. But have this been, I don't know, Bayern Munich, PSG, even Real Madrid, like it would not have looked that good. Like City would have been in serious trouble if it was a big team. So yeah, a problem for City.
Yeah, and just looking at the game, I think the game could have easily ended as a draw. I mean, I think they were lucky to have that penalty close to the end of the game, and Haaland also could have missed that penalty because Fulham goalkeeper almost blocked it. So there is a potential that the game could have ended in a draw, and I feel like that's maybe Haaland's impact on the game, even though it was a penalty. I do think in a typical Premier League season, City, tends to draw against like smaller teams at certain points. But with Haaland, he's the guy that's going to give City the advantage. And who knows, they might get 100 points again at the end of the season. But obviously, Arsenal at the top. Abdus, what do you think went wrong for Fulham without Mitrovic, of course?
Sorry, I missed you there for a minute. Your voice dropped. Can you?
Oh yeah, I was saying, what do you think went wrong with Fulham? Obviously, they didn't have Mitrovic in their team, so yeah.
What went wrong for Fulham? Quality and oil money. That's what went wrong for them. Man City had both, and honestly, you can't go to war with just sticks and stones when the opposition has a bazooka in their hand. Honestly, so Manchester City. I mean, of course, I hated Cancelo. I did not have Cancelo in my FPL team for this entire season. The moment I put him in, just a few minutes into the game, he gets a red card, and of course, that's annoying. But honestly, I think City's squad depth is really great, and it did look shaky. City have been looking shaky for the past few weeks, and it's no joke. They struggle without Haaland, and even with Haaland, sometimes they struggle. So I think there always comes for every team a point in the season where they're not performing at the best and they look shaky, but they always manage to come strong out of there. This happened to Manchester City towards the end of the season last season, and it's happening now just before the World Cup. So I think City are just performing. It's when you playing a league that is 38 games long, it is matches like these that determine who will win at the end. So if you can get these 3 points from out of nowhere, then you were doing it the right way, So I think City have done the right thing. It is these matches that they don't deserve to win, but actually do is what comes towards the end. So I think Manchester City were lucky, but more lucky. I wouldn't say lucky, but it's their hard work and determination that's getting them there. Because for these past few weeks, they have looked shaky, but have always managed to get something or the other out of the games. So that's about that. Mitrovic, I think if Fulham could have won if Mitrovic was there. Honestly, because Mitrovic, you cannot trust him at the moment with the play he's playing. One cross into the box, he'll jump into the air, there'll be a goal, bam, and who knows? The man is literally bleeding goals right now. So I think maybe Mitrovic being there could have made a difference, but not really sure about that. City, of course, doing playing the way they did. Of course, Haaland was the guy that pulled them out. So I think this next game week is going to be interesting because it will show us what the standings in the league is going to be before we go to the World Cup, and especially after the World Cup, we will also have some teams that will go far into the season, into the tournament, and some would just get eliminated early. So based on that, we'll also come to know about the fatigue levels of these players, and based on these fatigue levels, we will figure who is actually more capable. So at this moment, it's extremely important to gather as much points as you can so that when you do go to the World Cup, you have an advantage over the other teams, and that's what City is doing. So I think, as Andreas would say, City are headed in the right direction.
I guess talking about what's going to be happening in next week's game week, we have a comment from one of our most important members of the podcast, Warren Adams, saying, "Hello, gentlemen. Sick from my bed. Wish I could be there. Wish I could be here too, man. P.S. Newcastle versus Chelsea on the weekend should be a tasty affair. Not sure if Andreas is looking forward to that one."
I am as a fan. I am as a Chelsea fan, not really, but it is what it is. Like, we have to play against the big teams, so yeah.
We're living in a day and age where Chelsea fans are afraid of Newcastle. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought anything?
Who is not afraid of oil money? Who's not afraid of oil money? Let's be honest.
Real Madrid aren't. We aren't based on oil money, but we just beat all these clubs with oil money.
Mbappe disagrees.
I mean, we beat PSG up, we beat Manchester City up, and we beat all these big clubs up last season. So I'm not.
Mbappe disagrees. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I guess with the next game, which is the Nottingham Forest versus Brentford, 2-2 draw. See Nico Williams get man of the match. And interestingly enough, last week Matthias left a comment asking us if for FPL, we should have, if he should start Nico Williams or Gabriel from Arsenal, I believe. Seems like both players did well, so I don't know what that guy was cooking, but must take FPL advice from him at some point. But coming back into the game, both teams had an equal amount of possession. Forest was better at the attack, funny enough, compared to Brentford in this game. And one of the goals that Brentford scored was a penalty, and they also considered an own goal as well, giving Nottingham Forest the draw at the end of the game. So, Andres, what do you think went right for well, I don't know if I should say went right or went wrong for Brentford in this case, because they were expected winners.
I would say this is a win for Nottingham. Like, I really think this is a win for Nottingham, more than it's a win for Brentford. And like I really hate to admit when Abu is right, but he is right about when he has said in the past that Brentford is inconsistent. And he was not confident in Brentford winning this, and I thought Brentford would win this. Not necessarily with a lot, but I thought Brentford would win. And I think as much as Nottingham is really, they're really hungry, they're really doing their best, I think this is also just a loss for Brentford. Like, Brentford should be better, they have better players, a better team, but Nottingham is a good team as well. It has just been really, really lacking for them so far. But yeah, like, Brentford with a little bit of more possession, not a lot, but a little bit more. And besides that, Nottingham is ahead in both shots and shots on target. So yeah, really close match. And I think an important thing with this also is that Brentford makes an own goal by a Danish player, just to make it even worse. So I think that also shows that this is more Brentford being inconsistent than Nottingham necessarily being really good. And yeah, that's my takeaway. Brentford being inconsistent and Nottingham looking hungry, but there's just still too many lacking factors in Nottingham's team.
Yeah. What do you think helped Nottingham Forest run away with at least 1 point, especially because they're facing a possible relegation for them this season?
What helped Nottingham is Brentford's inconsistency. Now, I like it when Andreas says I'm right, because I'm usually very right, but he does not have the ability to see my truth. But the thing is, with Nottingham, I feel bad for the team. I feel bad for the team because they're very unfair. We're playing in a league where Manchester City has billions and billions of rupees, and then we have Nottingham Forest on the other hand that is literally, struggling to survive. So, you can't put 11 people that you brought in the summer on the team together and ask them to perform. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because team chemistry is a thing. And even though all 11 players might run up and down, team chemistry does have an effect. It really does. So I say if Nottingham were to have a team where there was chemistry between the players and they survived this season's relegation somehow, I think Nottingham can be a good mid-table team next season. When it comes to Brentford, it's sad because Tony is not been playing. He started out, he's not been scoring goals, and I think that's a major indicator of how Brentford are performing. Because if Tony was scoring goals, which meant that the defense was right, which meant the midfield was doing the job, creating chances, and Tony was able to score. Which means if this is not happening, if Tony is not scoring, I think it's a direct result of the midfield not performing as they should. And I think I wouldn't trust Brentford so much right now, but maybe after the World Cup they'll start performing because a majority of the team does not go to the World Cup. So the most important thing about these bottom league teams is that they have a lot of players that are not going to the World Cup compared to the upper half of these teams, on the upper side of the table, because they have a lot of players that will be fatigued after the World Cup. So the race from the bottom is going to completely change. It's going to completely change, let's face it. And that's when I want to see Nottingham make the most of it. I want to see Brentford make the most of it. So I think what went right for Nottingham is Brentford being inconsistent, and what went right for Brentford is that Nottingham has 11 players that were randomly brought in the summer and asked to play football together. So
Yeah.
both of them in a very helpless situation, sort of, and yeah, I think 2-2 is fair to both of them.
Yeah, I mean these guys have like Aurier who played for I think Spurs last season. They have um Jailings, who obviously
Angel Correa, you said Angel Correa.
Serge Aurier, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
Serge Aurier. Okay, I had Correa.
yeah, so
Sorry.
they have these class players, but they don't seem to be having much of an impact in games, even when it comes to goals or assists. So I don't know what's happening with that. But I guess with that, we'll
Exactly,
jump on.
because the thing is, you have Serge Aurier and Jesse Lingard playing in that game. Okay, that's the most experienced players they have, and you pairing them up with Nico Williams. So, I mean, I understand there's experienced players, but there's not too many experienced players, and then there's players that are not experienced at all. And you have to build a team around these players that have no
Yeah,
chemistry at all because they haven't played together before. So it's like there are certain cores and values of the team that the players that have played for the club stick with and stay with, and they teach the other players that come to the club. But there's no core skeleton, there's no core principle there. Since that doesn't exist, there's no sort of chemistry because the players don't know how the club plays or what the values are. These things only can be taught over time.
yeah. I guess with that, we can jump on to the next game, which is the Everton versus Leicester City game. First thing I'm going to say, both teams had an equal amount of possession. I think Leicester had almost like 4 times the amount of shots on target as Everton, and Leicester were also good defensively as well. So I think the scoreline clearly explains it that this was Leicester's game. And just to comment on the things that were happening in that game, like, I mean, props to Madison. I mean, that guy's impact. I mean, what a play! I mean, there was a point in the season where I was like, okay, Leicester might be getting relegated. It's over for them. But just seeing like key performance or amazing performances from key players like Madison, Tielemans, and I mean Navi Barnes' goal was just amazing to watch. Andreas, what do you think helped City run away with the win, especially against a good team like Everton? I mean, we know Iwobi's impact in the game.
Yeah, I think what's going right for Leicester just is that no matter if we have an Abu that's saying Leicester is not going the right direction, I think it's really, really safe and clear to see that Leicester is going the right direction. 14th in the table now, really, really a step up, have been really, really good the last couple of rounds. So when Abu starts to see more Premier League, maybe he will start seeing that as well. So yeah, but Leicester is just doing a really, really good job lately. Offensive, it's going really good. Defensive, it's really going good. Even without Schmeichel, like who would have thought that? And yeah, so Leicester's just doing a really good job. And out away against Everton, not easy at all. So really good by Leicester. And I think with Everton, that's just a really, really inconsistent team right now. And I think this is just. I think Leicester's just being better, and I think Leicester absolutely deserved the win. But Everton just also is really lacking right now, and I'm not confident that Lampard will be the manager at the end of the season. I'm not confident in that at all. Maybe he is, but I'm not confident in it because it's really not going good, and especially offensive, they really have some problems. And usually what have been so good for them so far has been that defensive, but that's clearly not a help in this match. And if you look at possession, like Leicester has a little bit more possession, so it's not in that Everton is failing. It's just Leicester has 8 shots on target and 22 shots overall, where Everton only have 2 shots on target and 12 shots overall. So Leicester is just much more better than that. And yeah, that's what we see. Leicester being a better team, both offensive and defensive, where Everton lacks more.
Yeah. And also looking at, like I said, Iwobi has been such an amazing, important player for Everton. Abdus, why do you think we didn't see him at least run away with one assist or a goal in this game?
Which player you said? Sorry.
Iwobi from Everton.
Iwobi. Because Leicester's defense has been good, and I hate to say this because Brendan Rodgers is a Liverpool asset after all. So for Brendan
I mean,
Rodgers
they've
to
already
turn this
conceded like
around,
3 goals in like 7 games, which is crazy.
and no, I personally have Castagna myself in my FPL team, so yeah, I do trust Leicester as of this moment. But
Yeah.
honestly, I think Madison is someone they are really using perfectly because he is the center of the entire attack alongside Barnes, and it's great to watch that because now, honestly, let's face it, Leicester sold a lot of important players last season, did not buy any, so for them to work the way they are working as of this moment, it's working well. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say they're headed in the right direction, but I would say they're getting there. They're getting there to where they need to be in the right direction. Personally speaking, Andres said that winning against Everton 2-0 at their home, that's a difficult job. No, it's not. Sorry, I don't agree with you. It's not a difficult job at all because Everton, let's face it, they have not been consistent at all. You can't really trust Everton this season. They're losing one game, they're winning another. It's just not happening. So you say that I need to watch more Premier League games, but I think you're the one that needs to watch more Premier League games because you don't understand that Everton aren't really performing. So to beat Everton at your own home at Goodison Park is not a big deal. So yeah, but that really doesn't take anything away from Leicester because Leicester have been performing great. And slowly they are turning things around. Not saying that they are the best team at the moment, not saying they're the most clinical team in the world.
Yeah.
But what's true is that they are getting points where it matters, and most likely they might survive a relegation.
Yeah.
And that's what they need. It was a wonderful game. I watched it. I did watch it. The way Leicester have played was amazing because they realized that their defense is bad. So they sit back, Mourinho style, and hit back on the counter when it is important. And that's what got them the 2 goals they needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, quickly, with Everton, it not being difficult defeating them. Get what you're saying. Everton is looking pretty bad right now, but historically, Goodison Park is a big stadium, and Everton has a lot of very passionate fans. So what I mean is that like going to Everton is it's not easy. Maybe Everton plays bad right now. I agree with that, but it's definitely not an easy place to be at and play against with all the fans. And yeah, like I think looking at Leicester, like they are going in the right direction. Is it good enough to survive? Time will tell, but they are going in the right direction. Going from last place to 14th place is really, really good. Again, will it be enough? I don't know, but it's definitely the right direction. And quickly with like the players, we have talked about Leicester being inconsistent with their players. And what's really interesting for me with this is that it's Tielemans, Barnes that scores the goals, and Madison that makes assists for both goals. Three really, really good players from Leicester at the last couple of seasons that has just really not been performing this season. Madison have, but the others haven't. So really, really great to see all these how can you say, like guys that we know from Leicester's past really stepping up this season, which they have been lacking.
Yeah. Just on that, we're having a comment from Adrian. Hello, Adrian. Commenting football. Awesome to hear that. She's American, so she should be saying soccer, but I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I really appreciate it because there's not a lot of people that call it football, which is senseless, but that's a talk for another day.
Yeah. I guess with that, we'll jump on to the next game, which is the West Ham versus Crystal Palace game. Obviously, Benrahma scoring the first goal, and I thought maybe West Ham might be running away with it, but Crystal Palace dominated, possession, defense as well, and were able to run away with the win. An important player for them has been Wilfred Zaha. I can't imagine what Crystal Palace would look like without him because his impact for that team is really evident. I mean, he gave them a goal, gave them an assist, so he was really the man of the match in this case. But attack-wise, Crystal Palace really dominated with 6 shots on target, while West Ham only had 2, and then obviously converted 1. So, Andreas, what do you think gave Crystal Palace the win in this game?
Zaha, absolutely Zaha, and it's pretty fun what you said with you can't imagine Crystal Palace without Zaha. I can explain you Crystal Palace without Zaha. That's most of the season. Like Crystal Palace without Zaha, that's Crystal Palace most of the season where he haven't been performing. So this is like this is what they need. They need him. They have others as well. They have Eze. They have some other good ones, but Zaha is their main offensive player, and they have really been lacking because he have been inconsistent. Eze has as well been inconsistent, and that has really been a problem for them. So getting Zaha to score is really what they need. And my takeaway from this match is him just being really, really good, and we have seen in the past that him being really, really good is really, really good for Palace, and like every season there's these rumors: is he going to Chelsea, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, all these big teams? And that's because he is such a great player at his best. My takeaway is that Palace at their best is really good with Zaha. They really need him. And I think also if we look at the stats, West Ham had 2 shots on target and 5 shots overall. That also shows that when it comes to the defense, Palace has a pretty good team. So it has been mostly offensive that Palace problems have been there so far this season. And that's what we see here, that when Zaha is great, they are doing really, really well, and that's enough to win matches because the defense is good enough in Palace. They just need the offensive skills, and they have that with Zaha when he performs.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think Andres is really, really good, and his observations are really, really good. But what's not really, really good? Well, I'm sorry, it's just a joke. But I think when you say Crystal Palace have a good defense, I think you're mistaken, because they've conceded more goals than they've scored this season. So that's something you want to discuss. And Crystal Palace haven't conceded just 7 or 10 or 15 goals. They've conceded, I think, more than 18 at least, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, more than 18 for sure. So I think what's happening with the Crystal Palace attack is what's happening to Wolves as well, except Wolves are completely confused in the attack. That's not the case with Crystal Palace. They have at least one person or another scorer turning up, scoring goals, and I was hoping for something great to happen from Crystal Palace's side when the season started, because they did upset Liverpool early on in the season. But it's sad it's not working out. Zaha, I'm really mad with, because I had him for 3 weeks straight on my FPL team. The man didn't give me any points of any sort. The day I take him out, and Andres, he made a mistake over here as well, because he said Zaha only scored a goal in the game, but he also gave an assist. So the day I pull, oh sorry, my bad. That's a mistake. But the day I pull Zaha out, not only does he score, but he also gives an assist and gets bonus points as well. So it's not meant to be in the stars. But yeah, it was a great game. West Ham again have been really, I think West Ham and Crystal Palace are in the same boat at the moment. Yeah. So for Crystal Palace to get away with this win is, it's great in the long run, because Crystal Palace can actually go ahead and be above West Ham and probably survive relegation. Who knows?
Who knows indeed.
Quickly with this, Crystal Palace and West Ham have 3 clean sheets each. And the first place with clean sheets is hold up, let me see here, is Arsenal and City and Newcastle with 6 each. So 3 it's not good, but it's not bad either. And that's what both Palace and West Ham has.
Yeah. So I guess with that, we'll jump on to the next game. Aston Villa 3, Man United 1. No player from Man United is able to even score a goal in this game. Not even the mummy himself, Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey was, air quotes, scored the own goal. Obviously, and he also scored a goal for Aston Villa as well. So he has 2 goals. One is an own goal and one is a goal for his team. Overall, looking at the game statistically, United dominated possession shockingly, and both teams almost had the same amount of shots on target. But obviously, Aston Villa had the better conversion in terms of those shots. Andreas, what is happening with Aston Villa? Oh, sorry, what is happening with Man United? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, with United. The same, actually. Unai Emery. He's what's happening in Villa. He's why United is losing. Like, this was his first match, and I had a feeling that this will be interesting. And he showed that. Like, United is doing a good job. I think they absolutely have some flaws. And I don't think United is safe in top 4 for the end of the season, but they are doing a good job. And Unai Emery just showed how experienced he is, and was like, this is not going to happen. United is not going to win against me. And yeah, he showed that. And he is the king of all the Villa teams. Villarreal, Aston Villa now. I think he had one more in the past. So yeah, he's just a really, really, really good manager. And interesting to see him back in Premier League. It didn't go that well then when he was in Arsenal, but I think this can be really, really good, and I think this is much better than having a Liverpool manager like they had before this. I think this is much better, and yeah, I think he will be really, really good for Villa. And yeah, just really good. 3 goals, and they scored an own goal as well to United. That's not too good in his first match, of course, but like still really, really good. And I think United is United, and they can be really good. They can also be inconsistent sometimes. But I think at the end of the day, this was more Villa just being really, really great than it was United.
Yeah, and I think a big question here to ask is it really Unai Emery? Because even before as appointed, I think Aston Villa still scored 4-0 in the previous game. I forgot against which opponent.
They lost against Newcastle.
Oh, they lost 4-0.
They lost.
So they won 4-0 against West Ham. Then they lost against Newcastle, and then Unai Emery came in 3-1 against United.
They lost much? 3 or 4 against Newcastle. Yeah.
A clean sheet. No, not a clean sheet. 4-1.
Okay.
4-1. That was the scoreline.
Oh, I see. Because I was wondering, like, if it's really Unai Emery's impact or just.
No, honestly, it is an Unai Emery impact.
What do you think he changed tactically, though?
Nothing. He just read Manchester United really, really well. So I mean, I understand that Andreas did a good job. He had a really, really good observation, and I really, really appreciate it. But the thing is, United did not do anything out of the book. Let's face it. That's on United, but. Honestly, the thing is, Unai Emery, good evening from him. He read United really well. He knew what they were going to do. He structured his team around that really well, and at the end of the day, he got away with 3 points. Now, if you honestly look at it, he did contain United at the best. Now, the own goal that came was actually a Luke Shaw shot that hit Ramsey, and it wasn't really Ramsey's mistake either. And hit the back of the net, because if that had not happened, it was still 3-0 against Aston Villa for Aston Villa. So Aston Villa were literally throwing around with Manchester United. Now, I understand they had nothing to worry about because Antony was not on the field. Now, if you have a player like Antony on the field, you're very scared at all times because you never know what trick he's going to pull out of the back. So you have to pay extra attention to that one player on the right wing because something can happen from there. So I think what happened to Aston Villa was they saw a good Manchester United side, but a Manchester United side that was easily predictable. And one thing about Erik ten Hag is that he's always a step ahead of his opponents. He did that to Porter, he did that to Liverpool, he did that to Arsenal. He's always a step ahead. He did that to Tottenham. He's always a step ahead of his opponents. The only person that he couldn't actually beat was Pep Guardiola, because of course quality comes in. But I think Manchester United were really outplayed, and they were not. It was not on the players. It was actually a tactical galore, and this tactical galore was won by Unai Emery clearly because he has more experience, of course, than Erik ten Hag. But he was a step ahead at all times. He saw everything coming. He contained United. He got the 3 goals. He got the job done. And what a comeback! What a comeback into Premier League! Because hats off, because United was starting to look like a major force. So for him to do this is a slap to Ten Hag's face.
Totally. I guess with that, we'll jump on to the next game, which is the Southampton versus Newcastle game. A game where we saw, this game was quite interesting because, I mean, Southampton had majority of, the possession of the ball, and they actually had more shots on target, almost like double shots than the opposition in Newcastle. But against Newcastle, you have just been amazing defensively, and it's just unfortunate that they even conceded 1 goal to begin with. It really shows how strong they are defensively as well. But I mean, we saw Newcastle register. I mean, 7 people had a goal contribution in this game, so that really shows how it's not just a one-man team. Everyone is contributing, and obviously, Kieran Trippier running away with the man of the match captain. He's had so much of an impact in that team. Easily the star player for them, but there's so many stars as well, like Almiron. It just goes on. Abdus, what do you think is helping Newcastle to still maintain this high quality football out of nowhere?
Honestly, I think it's the old money. Because of course they
Not
brought some
really.
quality players in.
Yeah.
Because the first signing that Newcastle made after this, the takeover was complete, was they bought Kieran Trippier, and look how's that is playing off. So Kieran Trippier, then they bought Bruno Guimaraes, so they had a lot of good signings that they made. Almiron also came in through that, but I think what's really working on is that team. This team is actually playing with confidence, and they understand each other really well. Not to mention the defense has been absolutely on top. Now that happens only because Newcastle keep the possession. They know how to keep the ball. They know how to toy with their opponents. They are confident in themselves. They don't look like a team that is mid-table. They look like a team that has confidence and wants to make a difference. Again, when you're looking at Newcastle stats, they have been consistent in the FPL as well, and you can't really pinpoint and say, "Oh, this player is going to give me a lot of points." It's been everyone, everywhere. Like last week, Wilson got 2 goals, I think, and 3 assists. This week, he did not get anything at all. So, and yet
Other players,
Newcastle managed to get a similar scoreline like last week. So this, I think, basically comes down to the fact that each player is performing. And with that being said, Southampton, yeah, we don't really have to talk much about Southampton. We've talked about how Andres has also talked about how they've been blanking. Their key players have not been performing the best. So it all comes down to how Newcastle have been performing, and add to the equation that Southampton haven't been performing that great. It gives you the scoreline.
Yeah. Obviously, another thing that happened after the game was Ralph Hasenhüttl got sacked. Obviously, after losing the game. I mean, he's been such an important manager for Southampton in terms of the growth and stay in the Premier League for so long. But obviously, after a few disappointing results, it's obviously something that's put into consideration. I mean, a topic we can talk about is who could replace him. But just a little comment on Newcastle. I think I was watching an interview where Eddie Howe was just talking about what he did when he first got the job. He really focused on building relationships with all the players, knowing when their birthdays are, knowing who their partners are, and really making sure that these players really are comfortable and know each other. And I think through that they're able to sort of like build the team that they are because they press from the front. They keep the ball up. It's almost like they play kind of like Liverpool with the intensity. It looks like it is working for them. But Andres, back to you in terms of Southampton.
Yeah. So first of all, I have something I want to ask you guys with the Villa match. I forgot before, but
Yes.
I'll answer the Newcastle first. Then we get to the Villa thing. Yeah, I think with the oil money with Newcastle, I think Abu is right in one way that it is the oil money, but it's more what it brings. It's not so much the actual money. It's more the belief and the trust and the idea that we can actually build something great. Because no matter if no matter how much history Newcastle have and all this kind of stuff before the oil money, it didn't look good. It didn't look good because there was no way they would get back to the top. Like it wasn't possible. There's no way they would have gotten the players they have now. All this kind of stuff would not have happened. And Newcastle haven't really used that much money, honestly. So it's not really
exactly.
like they could get much better players than they have now with all the money they have. So it's more the idea, like I don't think Trippier, he comes to Newcastle because of the money. He comes there because he can see they can build something here and he can be a part of that. So I think it's the oil money, but it's more the belief and the idea of we can actually build something that makes managers and players want to be a part of that. And Newcastle just doing a really good job. 4 goals.
Sorry to interrupt, Andreas, but I do agree that players come to a particular place because they see there's a project, there's something there you can build, there's something you can achieve over there. But don't you realize that all of this comes in because you have money?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It would never have happened if it's not the money. I'm just saying it's what the money brings, but it's not the money in
the value. Yeah, absolutely.
Mbappe comes because they can get a lot of money.
No, not Mbappe, but the others can.
It's not the money in itself. It's what the money brings. It's the belief,
the value
that we can build something. So
I hate it, but I agree with Andreas, and I hate that for me. But he's speaking the truth.
So it's definitely is the money, but it's just not like it's what the money brings and not the minutes.
Agree.
And just really good from Newcastle. Honestly, shocked that Southampton even scored a goal. I think that's great for them. I would not have expected that to happen. And I just have one question with Southampton, and that is, where is Ward-Prowse? Like such a big part of their team the last couple of seasons. Where is he now? I believe he's still in the team, so I don't really know what's going on with Ward-Prowse. But if I can move on to quickly with the Villa question. My question is, do you guys think this was Unai Emery being really, really good, or is it the normal when you get a new manager, you want to perform? Like we have talked about this many times just this season, that when a new manager comes in, they start really, really good, perform really, really good, both the manager and players. So my question is, was this getting a new manager, or was this Unai Emery really showing how great he is?
I think it's a bit of both. Because Unai Emery got his tactics right, and the players wanted to show the new manager that they deserve to play for the team. So both of these worked for them, and United did not have their cards, and they were predictable. So that's why 3-0. And had United be on the top of the game, I wouldn't say it would be a win for Aston Villa. I would say it'd be a draw, 1-1, maybe 0-0, 2-2. I don't know, or a very close victory for Aston Villa. But nobody saw this coming. I honestly did not see this coming, so it's a little.
I did.
I actually did not. So.
Yeah, I guess with that we'll jump on to the next game, which is Chelsea 1 Arsenal. Saliba getting man of the match in this game, and then both teams having almost the same amount of shots on target. I mean, Chelsea having 1, and then Arsenal having 2 shots on target, and then Arsenal dominating position. Obviously, we know Arteta, gets the principle of tiki-taka football from Pep Guardiola as well. So I think that's helped them in that area. I'm just looking up because Pep managed Barcelona before. But look, Chelsea, it's getting worrisome now at this point. Arsenal is a good team, but I think their previous games as well, things haven't been going well under Potter. Will he get sacked? I mean, Chelsea is known for doing such things. Andreas, what do you think is the problem with Chelsea?
I don't think he will get sacked to begin with. Like, we have lost 2 games under him, and I've said this a lot now. But I agree, it's not going well. Like, it's not going well. It's 2 games in in a row in Premier League. There was the Champions League game in between, but it's 2 Premier League games in a row, and that's the worrying part for me, that it's 2 in a row. I think just looking at the match, 5 yellow cards to our players. 5 yellow cards. And I think that shows that there is some frustration going on the pitch. And I don't really think that's Potter. Like, I get that he sometimes makes some weird decisions. I can agree with that. But I just think when I look at the players, they just look weird, and it's they look frustrated. They don't quite know what they're doing. And I think actually when it comes to midfield and the stuff we are doing there, I think we are doing a decently good job. I don't think we played bad, and I think Arsenal only winning with 1 goal shows that we are not that bad. Like, Arsenal was the best team. I will admit that. I thought Chelsea would have won. I was wrong. I will gladly admit I was mistaken there. Arsenal is the better team at the moment. But I don't think we played bad, and I think Arsenal only winning with 1 goal shows that. But the problem just is that defensive, we are making way too many mistakes.
Yes.
We are not scoring goals. Aubameyang looks frustrated. All the players look frustrated, and that's the problem. Like, I think we played decently good, but defensive and offensive, we are not clinical enough. And that's the take of it. Like, yeah.
Abdus, what do you think is going right with Arsenal? Not, talk about.
I'm not sure what's going on.
Only talk about Arsenal.
I'm not sure what's going on with Arsenal, and I really don't want to comment about that right now. I want to talk about Chelsea because, of course, they're my friend's favorite club, and I would love to support my friend in this horrific times. So, Chelsea are a bad club with just oil money. Before Abramovich, they did not have a history, so it's just oil money for them as well. So for them to just go back to their natural position is nothing new, and I think that's what happened in this game.
Can we talk about La Liga a little bit? What happened?
We've discussed this. We don't discuss La Liga on this podcast. Moving on, but no. In all seriousness, I think Chelsea have a problem with their squad depth. The attacking front is not something I would trust. To trust Sterling now, he's a great player, but remember, Pep Guardiola did not even trust him 100%. So for him to come over here and be treated as a starter, no. I wouldn't give that person a start. With that being said, I think Chelsea has players. They have good players, not gonna lie, but they did not have players that can actually make a change. Like, Kovacic cannot be brought on and then asked to, single-handedly change a game by himself. Now, he's not Modric. Like, Kai Havertz is a good player, but he's not that experienced, So, I mean, when we're talking about Chelsea and their players, I think what's going wrong with them is the players are not that experienced at the moment. No, I'm not saying they don't have the quality. I'm just saying, when in matches like these, it is experience that counts the most. So I think it's their experience that is lacking. And not to mention that Potter is new. He is working things around, and Chelsea are still in the nascent stage where they're still trying to figure out what they want to do with their team. So I don't think Chelsea is doing anything wrong. It's just a learning curve for themselves. And slowly and ultimately, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said, form is like a ketchup in a bottle. Sometimes you squish it and the ketchup doesn't come. But then when you give it a pat on the back, it just overflows. So I think that's what's going to happen with Chelsea. It's going to come. It's going to come slow, but it will come. And with Arsenal, what's going right? They have really left me speechless. I thought they would start choking and bottling games by now, but that's not the case. They're actually winning stuff out there, which is strange. I did not expect for that to happen, but they are getting goals from out of nowhere. It's not the forwards that are scoring. It's Gabriel that scored a goal in this game. So sometimes it's not the forwards, but it is someone from the midfield or someone really rare. Arsenal haven't had a consistent scorer except Jesus during the first few game weeks. But after that, they've had very inconsistent goal scorers. Like some days Martinelli is scoring, some day Gabriel is scoring, then you have Odegaard scoring. So it's a weird way Arsenal are playing. I think it could be called luck, but then it could also be somewhat how Arteta is setting his team up. So I think if I'm right, Arsenal are not going to perform the way they are performing right now after the World Cup break.
Great.
I think so. I think it's going to happen.
No, I agree. I think Arsenal is doing really well, and I think we have to seriously talk about Arteta as a much better manager than I expected, to be honest. And I think we have to talk about Arsenal being really, really, really strong, but I just don't see them going all the way. I just can't see it. I just can't see it. I can gladly say that I think they will get in top 4, but I just can't see them going all the way. And yeah, I just can't see it. And with Chelsea, I completely agree. Shockingly, with what I was saying, I think it really comes down to inconsistency in the offensive and in the defensive as well. And I think that's because of experience. There's a lack of experience. There's a lack of how can you say, like, trusting your own confidence. There's a lack of
chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry, confidence. I think there's a lack in that for a lot of the players. So completely agree. And now Richard is talking with someone. So let's talk about Real Madrid's La Liga match. So Real Madrid was playing yesterday, and they lost. And we have a really big. He says he's a big Real Madrid fan here. I don't know if I will trust that, because we have pictures of Abu.
Okay. So what happened in the game yesterday?
Let's talk about Real Madrid. They lost.
What happened yesterday was Real Madrid were lacking aggressiveness. They were lacking intent, and that is why we got outplayed. Rayo Vallecano were out there for blood, and you could see them actually, being very physical. They were trying to get on the nerves of Vinicius Junior, which they know, who they know is a temperamental player and would probably lose his temper. So that's what they played around with, and these are the games where I actually miss Ramos, Casemiro, and Pepe, because these players would beat the crap out of anybody who tried to play physical. Try physical, and they show their character. Like one time they try something hard, Casemiro goes in there, punches them straight in the face, takes a yellow. Invisible man as he is, he doesn't get a red. So he punches the crap out of these players, shows them who the boss is, and after that, these tackles sort of calm down some. So I really missed Casemiro yesterday, because if anything, I really, really, really enjoyed Casemiro doing these things. Ramos too.
So right now we're actually talking about someone that's not there instead of actually talking about the match. That's an interesting fact to remember when we're talking about Real Madrid, that now the fans are talking about former players instead of...
I'm not saying we hit rock bottom. We're far from it. We're playing actually really good, and we really missed one player yesterday. You want to guess who?
Casemiro.
Yeah. No, not Casemiro. Kroos. Because the tempo of the game was really fast, and when that happens, you need a player in the center that can control the tempo of the game and can take things as Real Madrid need. Like the game were going too fast yesterday for Real Madrid to comprehend. Luka Modric had the worst game ever of his life. I can tell you that. He had an absolutely awful game yesterday. So you need Kroos here, a player who is press resistant completely, who can control between the lines, who can just control the ball, who can just keep everything in his purview. So, how hard, no matter how fast Driver try to play yesterday. Sorry?
Didn't he get a red card the previous game as well? So, maybe
that is why he was not available. I really missed Toni Kroos. I really
did. And I think, you talk about, Vinicius's, spirit in the game. I think he was very aggressive in that game, but, it ended up costing him the game more than winning him the game. But I do think Rayo Vallecano was just up class.
They were phenomenal. They were phenomenal. Not gonna lie, they were phenomenal. And if you saw the game, I know, Richard, you saw the game. The game was going too quick. It was a very fast-paced game.
Yeah.
Now, were Toni Kroos in that game, he would have seen that coming. He would have slowed down the game. He would have kept the ball with himself, passed around. He would have had a ton of Rayo Vallecano players press him, and yet not give the ball away. He would tire the crap out of them. And that is why Toni Kroos is such a great player.
And I get that, Abu. I get what you're saying, but he was not playing. Like, why are we talking about...
That's why we missed him yesterday.
If Kante was playing, we would be the world champions in the world right now.
No. This is not about the player. I'm not talking about the player. I'm talking about the quality, the value that he brings to the field.
Yeah,
so what yesterday Real Madrid needed was to calm down, What Real Madrid needed yesterday was to calm down, control the possession, control the tempo of the game. Don't let Rayo Vallecano get so aggressive. Even if they were being physical, control the ball. Don't give them the ball, and that would have frustrated Rayo Vallecano. And when that would have had happened, they would have had made mistakes, and then that is where we would have capitalized. So that's the entire point. That's
Yeah,
where we
let's
lost
move
the
on
game.
to actual Premier League. We only talked Real Madrid just because Richard was talking to someone. Let's move on to Premier League.
Yeah. Last game we're going to be talking about tonight is the Tottenham versus Liverpool game. We saw Mo Salah seemingly get back into his form with the brace. Darwin Núñez helping him with an assist in that game as well. Huge important impact for a player we bought for so much. And then I think for Tottenham's side, I mean, they looked really non-intense for majority of the game, but as soon as 70 minutes onwards, when Dejan Kulusevski got put onto the game, you could see, the intensity started picking up, and they started having, a more lethalness in their attack. And obviously, he was able to give Harry Kane an assist in this case. So, I mean, I guess I'll be the one to talk about Liverpool because Warren isn't here. But I mean, one thing I must say is I'm happy with the way Salah's playing, especially in this game, because one thing we have been lacking is just clinicality. I mean, if I look at what happened in the last previous Champions League final, the reason we didn't win was pretty much because of Coutinho's, goalkeeping skill. But I think outside of that, we do lack, a clinical quality in terms of converting the amount of, crosses we get. So I'm happy with the way Salah performed. Nunes, I didn't like him initially, but I think as time goes on, and obviously every player needs time before they shine, and I think he's really, really getting to that point where he's, shining at this point. So yeah, good performance overall. I'm happy with what's been happening. Maybe Andreas, tell us what went wrong for Tottenham in this game.
I think what is in general going wrong for Spurs right now is that they are very, very dependent on Kane. And I think defensive, I don't really think Spurs is the best team. They're doing okay, but nothing like amazingly. And I think they just depend way too much on Kane. And that, like, he's doing a great job. So scoring goals most of the matches, I'm pretty sure he's very high in the goal scoring list. So he's doing a good job, but they're just way too dependent on him. I do think with Kulusevski coming back, I think that can be really, really good for them. I assume Son is out for a while now. So that, not that Son has been doing that much either lately,
Yeah.
but still, like, getting Kulusevski back is going to be really good for them. And I think with Liverpool, I think this was just like looking at the stats. Liverpool has a little bit more possession. They have one more shot on target, and Spurs have one more shot overall.
We had more clearances as well, so defensively we're good.
Yeah, it's very, very close, and all those Liverpool was just better defensively, and Salah in particular was just more clinical than the entire team of Spurs. So I think that what it comes down to. And I think with Núñez, I don't think he will ever be a top player. I don't think he will be one of the absolute top names. I don't think that. But I think he will be much, much better. And we also have to remember, like, if we compare him to Haaland, for example, Haaland was in Dortmund before this, a very, very big team.
Yeah.
Núñez comes from Benfica, a big team, but like Dortmund is a bigger team than Benfica. So Haaland was already used to playing for a big team. Núñez isn't really doing that. And then comes to Liverpool, and everyone expects this big stuff for him. He's still very young, and I can see it taking time. And again, like, compared to Haaland just have much more time to get experience in big matches like this. So yeah, that's what I see with Núñez. And I think with Salah, he's just back. Maybe next week he blacks and doesn't do anything. But right now it looks good for Salah, and I hope
get him on your FPL teams, everyone.
But I hope he can keep it up because it's looking really good for him right now.
No, I really hope he doesn't. I hope he is not really consistent. I hope he misses a week or two every now and then, because then Liverpool fans are so deluded they're going to start asking for the Ballon d'Or for him, even though he has done nothing. So they did that last season.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think Liverpool, I wouldn't judge Liverpool based on this win, because honestly, the way things are, Liverpool have had a cycle. They win a game against a big team, then they draw the one after that or have a very close win, then they lose against a bottom league team, and then they win again against a big team again. So they have been in a cycle. They I don't know where they find the energy to beat these big teams from, but the small teams have also been giving them a hard time. So I think what needs to be fixed is the games against these small teams that actually make a difference at the moment. With that being said, when it comes to Spurs, the attacking lineup has been really disappointing. Kane, Son, Kulishevsky. Well, Kulishevsky just came back last game, but these players have not been converting, and that's what the major problem for Tottenham is. I mean, the defense is good, the midfield is good, except Højbjerg, because of course he's Danish and Danish players
He's
are
the
not good.
best player in the entire team.
Yeah.
But I think with that being said, the problem with Tottenham is the misfiring forwards. And that's what the problem is. And I think Spurs did the best they could with their misfiring midfielders, and Liverpool did the best they could, considering what their record has been against big teams. So I think it's a fair result. I did predict that Liverpool were going to win this game with one goal. The goal difference was going to be one, and that's exactly what happened. So I think what's left to see is how Spurs perform, if they can go out there and change their attacking and goal scoring stats, and if Liverpool can actually go out there and beat, bottom league teams that have been a major problem for them from the beginning of the season. Because if you go back and look, Nottingham, Leeds, Crystal Palace, all these are teams that have not really performed. So I think that's what the problem is.
Yeah, and I think I wonder, like, do you guys think Kane is doing a good job this season? Because I can't really figure out if, like, I think he's doing a good job, but I can't really figure out if people think that he is good enough, or if it's not. Like, I think Kane is the best player in Spurs right now. Højbjerg as well, but I think Kane is doing a really, really good job for Spurs and scoring the goals they need. Or not need, because it's not enough to win the matches, but like, he scored a goal here. He has done that most of the matches. So what do you guys think about Kane? Like, is it good enough?
Yeah, I mean, look, he might not be as in top form as he was maybe a season or two ago, but he is the only player in Tottenham that's consistent. I mean, if he doesn't score a goal, he gives an assist. And I mean, Son hasn't been there to receive the goals. It's been the midfield players, either scoring the goals like Højbjerg, or getting assist from Kane. I mean, Bentek as well as quality. Perisic, I mean, the experience he has shows he can play many different positions, and you can just see him almost having a free roaming, sort of like position throughout the game. So they do have quality players, but they're facing Liverpool, of course, who has beaten so many big teams at this point. I mean, my wish was that in this Champions League draw we would face Real Madrid next week, so that we just beat them as soon as possible. But who knows what will happen after the World Cup? But I've just thoughts on that.
I am not going to comment anything about it as at this moment.
But I want it on record, man.
Guys, I'm not going to say anything before the World Cup. After, I'm only going to try and make a decision after the World Cup and a few game weeks have been played. I can honestly tell you how Real Madrid are going to play, because I see them week in, week out every day. I know what each player does, and I watch them closely. And so I can tell you what Real Madrid can do, but for Liverpool, I can't really predict at the moment. Not to mention half of the Real Madrid team is going to be at the World Cup. Camavinga, Tchouaméni are going to be starters considering Kante and Pogba are out. Rodrigo and Vinicius are going to play the game. Benzema is going to play in and out. Luka Modric is the captain of Croatia. Ferland Mendy is playing for France. Edu Militao is going to play for Brazil. Carvajal is going for Spain. Belgium, Courtois. So the entire starting 11 basically is going to play the World Cup. And considering how far they go, the team is likely to be fatigued. So I'm not really sure what we can make out of this. But what's more important is to know that we have to beat Liverpool no matter what. We have to keep the record 100%, and that's what I'm looking forward to. But if you ask me this question after the World Cup again, if you ask me the question after the World Cup again, I will probably answer this, but not right now. I think
Probably,
in the current form,
he says probably.
with the current form, I think Real Madrid can easily beat Liverpool.
Interesting.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. But
That's
our favorite commenter said, Ancelotti, we are coming.
Like you were coming last season, or in 2017, 18, or you were coming in 2020.
Like one shot on target, so you want to speak.
What's the point? What's the point with one shot on target? We won the UCL, and if it was just one shot on target, you also seem to have forgotten what we did to you in the last 3 meetings we met. So, if you were really that great, and if we just got lucky, then why does the history just speak for us and not for you?
Also, with Liverpool, Firmino is not going to play the World Cup, so he will be fresh.
A lot of players are going to be fresh.
But also to finish off with the Kane thing, I also think that when we talk about Kane is to remember that Son is doing so bad, and I think that's something that people maybe say Kane is doing bad or something like that because they see it as Son and Kane, and they forget that of course it's going to be more difficult for Kane when he has had this great player along with him the last couple of seasons that's not really performing. But I also think that Spurs is still, I've said this before, I think Spurs is still the weakest of the top 6 teams. We probably either them or us, to be honest, either them or Chelsea. But I still think Spurs is the weakest team, and I think that's a part of the Liverpool win as well.
I say the weakest team would be Liverpool.
Of the top 6,
Chelsea, yeah, then Tottenham. Sadly, United comes second because the other teams have no competition so far. Third, then Arsenal and maybe City. I don't know. It could be either way.
I think Spurs. Okay, let me say it in another way. I think Spurs is the weakest head-to-head. Like I think every time we see Spurs against the other big teams, I think Spurs is just not performing well. We not that we are doing the best either, but like 1-0 against Arsenal, draw with United. I think against the big teams we have showed more than Spurs have showed so far at least. But that can change. And also interesting that Richard was so far off with his 0-0 prediction against between Liverpool and Spurs. But we will get back to that on Friday. But you really messed up there, Richard.
No, but it proves my point that was a bold prediction because I told you guys there is no way that Salah or Harry Kane does not score at least one goal in that game. But obviously Harry and Warren aren't here to defend themselves. But
I'm sure we'll talk more about that on Friday.
Yeah, hopefully. Obviously we'll be doing some Champions League coverage on Friday concerning which teams are facing who in the Champions League, Europa, and we might cover the Conference League as well. And then we're going to try to do some coverage on the Carabao Cup, which was previously won by Liverpool last season. Not to brag.
On penalties.
True.
But at least we have like silverware every season, which is not what everyone can do.
This guy is so hypocritical because he says Real Madrid just won with one shot on target, a shot that they managed to score and did not have to go to extra time for. But he has the balls to say that Liverpool won and silverware matters, even though they did it on chance.
Shut up. Yeah, but unless you guys have anything
And then
more,
predictions as well on Friday.
yes, we'll be talking about those. I hope I won. I don't think I got any, but we'll see how the results go and what happens after that on Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to the commenters. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Adrian, for commenting. Really appreciate it. Even the viewers, that one or two viewers that have been coming in and off of the live, really appreciate it. And thank you, Andreas. Thank you, Abdus, for coming up for this week's preview. And I guess, yeah, see you guys on Friday. Bye-bye.